All right, the world is a better place because you're here to join us. It is Wednesday, February 28th, 2024, and we're about to talk about the NBA. We're about to head into a busy season covering the NBA week after week, and and I will say it's getting pretty exciting. So let us begin our new season. The second half of the NBA season has begun. So let us cover it for each and every single one of you. Fresh Faces is here to begin it. What's going on, Faces?
Nothing much. Let's get this. Let's go.
All right, let's go indeed. Great to see you. So first things first, I figure we'll go around the league for this one. I think it's fair to say the best team in the NBA right now is the Boston Celtics. They're staying healthy. They're extremely dominant at home. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum seems to not be slowing down. KP is still on the roster and hasn't gotten hurt. And this team is Drew Holiday is doing well. They're actually playing defense. The Celtics team seems pretty dominant, just 12 losses at this point of the season. What do you think, Faces? Do you think they can keep this up? Do you think this Celtics team can finally get over the hump after so many years since 2008, falling short, whether in the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals itself? You think the Celtics have the best chance at this moment to win the whole thing?
Yeah, probably for at least the next year or two. Like they have to get out of the East. Like the East is awful. If they don't get out of the East, it's either because they've had a catastrophic meltdown or like Kristoff got hurt. Like that's like it. But
Mm-hmm.
there is no reason they shouldn't make it out of the East. They're like a head and shoulders better than everybody else, especially if Embiid's out. So yeah, I still don't think that they're going to beat Denver. But you know, maybe they get lucky and somebody else beats Denver. But
Mm.
I don't. I think Denver's going to repeat.
Cool. So the way I structure this, we'll talk about the East and the bigger teams in the East, then we'll go to the West. But staying on the Celtics though, so you say the only thing that could stop them is pretty much the injury bug, but you think now things are all clicking. There doesn't seem to be any immense drama like there was in the past couple of seasons off the court. It seems they're really getting down to the X's and O's of of actually playing basketball, and there's some legit team chemistry here too.
Well, it's not so much that they've solved their issues. I think moving on from Marcus Smart, they needed to do for their coach. But I think it's more the fact that all the other potential title contenders in the East kind of fell apart. Like Philly's not winning. They're on like a 23 win pace without Embiid. Like they're not going to win maybe any round if they, depending on when he comes back. Um, you can't trust like Dame hasn't looked great this year. You can't trust Doc Rivers basically in the last decade. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like you can't count on Milwaukee. The Knicks, I don't know if Julius Randle comes back, there's always the possibility he plays hurt or turns into a pumpkin. Um, when the Cavs had that stabilizing run, so this is a weird thing that needs to be mentioned. There are a lot of really bad teams this year, like
Yeah.
truly horrendous teams, and a majority of them are kind of bad by accident. But it means that teams can go on like 18-7 win streak or 18-2 win streaks because they play like the Pistons, the Spurs, the Warriors, or the Pistons, the Spurs, the Wizards, and like Portland like three times. Like they all suck. They're all just different versions of bad. So like Cleveland played a whole bunch of those teams to build up on that momentum. Like yeah, they still you got to beat who's in front of you, but until they prove that they're better than the team they were last year, I can't imagine them winning the East. So it's more that assuming the Celtics don't shoot themselves in the foot, they should be able to go through the East pretty comfortably.
I trust that. I trust that. And yeah, there have been a lot of blowouts this season. A lot of people have been criticized in general, doesn't seem to be putting an effort on defense. And as the
It's not so
NBA,
much. I know the NBA is looking to do this. So there's two things to this. One, the players are just like they're just better. Like they just are. Like guys are just better and they're smarter and defenses and offenses understand stuff better in ways that they haven't. Um, Also, yeah, the fact that San Antonio, the Wizards, and Detroit are just awful. Like they can't guard anybody.
Mhm.
Certainly helps, skew it. I mean, the Celtics have had multiple 50-point wins, like which is just absurd. Like the
Yeah,
Pacers are
their wins are
like,
dominant. You bet those spreads
like
if you
so
have
if you
them.
look at the Nuggets statistics from this year to last year, they're the same. Like their ratings are the same, but where they rank is different just because everything is hot, is inflated this season. So it's not so much that just defense, and also the other one is the guys who just like Trae Young is a really good example of this. Guys who just barrel into the defense without a plan and throw it up and get bailed out. Like there's a lot of that going on as well. Like that needs to be um uh figured out how to change the refing on that. But I think the players are just doing better, and they're just like so many skilled guys.
Right. And I think so too. And going into the next point, talking about the Sixers specifically, you mentioned how how Embiid's absence has really been an eye opener for that team. Even with the rise of Tyrese Maxey, he's not a number one guy. Clearly, Tobias Harris is you know, just laying out there. Nick Nurse is fine, but the Sixers, as you mentioned, and I think you made a great point, they're just a 20-win team without Embiid. I mean, is this when you finally give up on the process, or is that done already?
No, I think if depending on if Embiid comes back this season and he's healthy, I think you need at least one more year. Because like he was playing like he would probably have won MVP this year. He didn't deserve it last year. Like let's be clear about this. Like the
Mm-hmm.
reason Joel Embiid won MVP last year was not because Joel Embiid was the best player in the league. It was because people like we can't give the regular season award to a guy who hasn't done stuff in the playoffs. Like that was their argument why Jokic didn't win it. Uh, so that's why I would have voted against him this year. But that's a petty answer. Um, I don't know. I think you got to give it to him because this is the most wide open it's going to be. Um, and I think it'll probably be about this open next year because I if anything, I think Milwaukee will probably be worse next year. Um, and I think Giannis is probably out in a year or two. Um, Boston, their core is all under unless Drew is going to retire. Their core is basically locked in. I don't see who else is coming up that they have to wear. Like maybe like who are the Knicks going to get this offseason that's going to make them title contenders unless it's like Embiid. Like
I
there's
guess
just
if you
nobody.
want to, I doubt because they are trending in the right direction. With Minnesota and people saying Karl Anthony Towns may be an option there,
But is
but
Towns going to make you Towns isn't going to move the needle that like is he that much better than Julius Randle that you're going to be better than Boston?
no, and that's the big question too. When you saw on the trade deadline, the Knicks really improved their bench. That was the big thing there. And do they really need quote unquote need that special superstar? Is that it, or do you build a team around in chemistry? And it seems that these bench players, the Knicks they haven't been dominant, but they've been floating above water amongst these injuries, especially no OG and Julius Randle. But to tell you the truth of this moment, Faces, I really can't pinpoint a specific target to actually pick to actually move the
They
Knicks
need
over
like
the needle.
they need like this is a team that like if Kevin Durant was a free agent, like this is a Kevin Durant team that like with a Durant, you need a 1A guy. If they get that 1A guy, they could win a title. But you need like a Durant, a Giannis, like a Jokic. You need one of those guys. Like that's what they're missing. They have a really good core. They had the best trade deadline, and I said this into our group chat, but everybody in Detroit needs to be fired. The coach needs to be fired. The GM needs to be fired.
So I assume, did you happen to see last night's fiasco? There was 3 chances for
Oh
Detroit to
yeah,
win in the last 10 seconds. Then we
but
have Dante DiVincenzo trying to tackle Asar,
no,
and
he
they
tackled
get
them.
the no
He tackled
call. Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, they got yeah, he absolutely got they got robbed of that game.
Do you
They
think
absolutely
the
did.
refs gave it back for their loss against, what was it, Cleveland or Atlanta? I think it was Atlanta. And the refs, that's a legit theory I saw on NBA Twitter. I think they're completely two different referee squads, but wasn't that, I mean, maybe because for the 8-win Detroit team, it wasn't, you know, a total disaster, and it's just making fun of a team that can't win ever.
Well,
But yeah.
they're so I want to get this because I think we'll talk about some of these teams. Of the teams that are bad, only the Wizards are as bad as their record shows.
Mhm.
The Detroit is not like Cade was right when he said that when they lost like 22 in a row. He's like, we're not a 22 loss in a row. Like if you rerun this season with literally any other coach, they don't lose that many games. It just does not happen.
Why do you
Um,
think this is not working? I mean, they have an established head coach first year, big contract in Monty Williams. They seem to have some core building. I mean, what's happening? As you mentioned, is it you solely on the coaching staff?
I think so because he's made like terrible coaching decisions. He, for no apparent reason, decided that I'm going to keep playing Killian Hayes over Jaden Ivey. He keeps rolling out fucking like all bench units where you're like relying on the like James Wiseman for rim protection. And to be fair, like they had to alter some of the guys. Like when they made the trade for Bagley, they got rid of some of their worst players to just like for regular rotation guys. But you know, they have pieces and guys got hurt for a while. It's been a rotation thing. Like it's a rotation and it's a lack of awareness. And also, this is a really weird roster that doesn't work and has a lot of like below NBA talent. Like James Wiseman is not an NBA player. Killian Hayes is
Mhm.
clearly not an NBA player. I mean, you had Alex Burke trying to do like end game, like some of their out of timeout stuff is
He was
just
relieved to
terrible.
come back. And Quentin Grimes, he isn't moving the needle over there.
Yeah, it's and like it just like Cade is really good. Jade Ivey's been playing was playing really good without Cade. Like that should have been all season. Um Asar Thomas is like a phenomenal defender. Like if he ever becomes just a bad 3-point shooter, that would make him so much better. But he's not even at bat. Like him and his brother cannot shoot at all.
Hmm.
Like they're I think they're the worst shooters in the NBA. Like it's not even close. Like they're like 14% from 3-point range. They cannot shoot without outside of like 5 feet from the rim. Unbelievable defender. Cannot shoot a lick.
Speaking of those bad teams, how about the Brooklyn Nets? You know, they just they made a coaching change at the All-Star break. It seems there is no hope over there. Um, Nobody likes the owner. Some people say they're better off relocating. How about the Nets? Is there any chance for them, for Mikal Bridges, to lead some resurgence?
Not so to be fair to Jack Vaughn, who's not a great coach, um, there wasn't a lot he was going to be able to do with this roster. Um, you were kind of hoping a lot of it really kind of relied on Ben Simmons being kind of Ben Simmonsy, because like if
Mhm.
he was back to himself, this would be a much better team. It would fit a lot smoother. Um, but it's not like they're not good. And if Houston had really offered them 5 first rounders, including a bunch of their own back, and they said no for Mikhail, Sean Marks needs to be fired too.
Why do you
Like to
think
be
he's still getting a chance? This is his fourth head coach. It's amazing how he keeps staying up.
well, to be fair, Steve Nash didn't count because
He
he
was
was the
Durant's mule.
yeah, like and then when they fired Kenny Atkinson, that wasn't really his that was because of the like Kyrie. Like that era was like not really fair to him.
Mhm.
So I don't know who would take that job. Probably Brett Brown. Probably this seems like a Brett Brown team or like a because they're
Mhm.
gonna muddle for a while. Like they're not gonna be good. Their draft picks and stuff are all weird because they're tied into a whole bunch of other teams.
Yeah.
Um, but this is a team that needs to blow it up. And it's also like even if you even if they didn't get back their pick this year, this is not a this draft is not a gutter to all star draft. It's a floor raiser draft. A lot of these guys in this draft are if you have a core or you're building a core, these guys can be really good pieces. I think the first guy who's going, Alex Sarr, I think he's going to be like a phenomenal defender. There's a bunch of guards who could be like really good, like two guards or pieces. There's a lot of interesting wing dudes. This is a very baseline raising draft. It's not like a superstar. Like maybe some guys will be superstars, but it doesn't have that. Like it doesn't have the pop of like Wemby. It doesn't. I mean, even doesn't have a pop of like a Cade or like a LaMelo or something like that.
Yeah, it
So
seems.
if you have to punt on this draft because you tear it down this year, just tear it down. Like you can't. You should. It shouldn't matter. The Rockets going to fuck up the pick anyway. Like they've fucked up their whole rebuild. And who says that you couldn't have, in the Mikal Bridges trade, could have gotten Jalen Green and just had Cam Thomas and Jalen Green take turns going for 40 every day? Like that would have been at least exciting. Like I'm actually surprised they didn't do more. Like, are you going to re-sign Nick Claxton? Why would you re-sign Nick Claxton? This team isn't going anywhere.
Good question. And he could be a solid trade asset for another team. Fortunately, it's too late, but somebody could have used him as a big man.
Yeah, it's very weird that they didn't do more.
Big mystery. And talking about also one with the other underachievers, with the Milwaukee Bucks, we briefly hit on it, but let's go into it a little more. You bring in Doc Rivers. I think he's 4-9 since taking over. As you mentioned, Damian Lillard is not his usual self, despite making the All-Star team this year. Seems frustration with Giannis. You expect to see Giannis on the move, as you mentioned earlier. Is that correct?
Well, here's the problem with this team. They can't guard it. Like they have no wing guys. Chris Middleton is not playing. Like he's just been hurt and he just hasn't played up to his standard. So you're basically relying on a couple of rookies to be like wing stoppers or Malik Beasley, who just isn't. So you don't have the same like perimeter protection, which basically kills you in this league at this point. If you can't guard the three, it doesn't matter. So every guard just like obliterates them every night. And then Dame is not carrying the offensive in the way you would think it was. And then again, like I do not know why the answer is Doc Rivers. Like Doc Rivers has been the answer one time.
And that happened now
15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. 2008.
Like yeah, it's cool. We got Doc Rivers. Like, yeah, but he hasn't been successful. And I don't know how much of this is on him or the system, because like to be fair to him, it is hard to come in the middle of the season and like revamp a roster. So I don't know. And the reason I think Giannis is going to leave is they don't have any way to get better. Like, unless you have to trade somebody like Chris Middleton. Like they don't have any picks. They have like a couple seconds, I think.
Yeah.
So you basically have to trade Chris Middleton, but like who you getting that's gonna raise, like who you getting in for Chris Middleton that's gonna make a difference? Like
I don't know. A lot of those questions would have to be for the offseason. And
how
because
much,
it's so wide open, we have to see how these teams shape up.
And how much does Chris Middleton have? Like how valuable is Chris Middleton at this point? Like who's looking
like,
at like
he's like Clay right now. He's just kind of there. Great career. Fine career in his case. Will get his name recognition to get some type of minutes, but he's not getting the minutes like he used to. He's not draining a big shot, getting a big assist.
Is not defending like he used to. Like, and they're old. Like, this was the problem. I think they would have been better off going into the season with the team as it was, and then trying to make a move for like if they had gone into the season with all their picks and Drew Holiday, maybe they could have gotten Alex Caruso. Maybe they could have gotten, I don't know, DeJounte Murray. Although I don't know, like
I'm surprised they didn't move him this trade deadline.
Well, I think they're more likely to move Trey. I think he's going to be, and we can talk about that, but when we talk about some of the other teams, but I think having more assets, I think it was like, oh, we got Dame and it's big and shiny, but like, is it like,
that seems that the theme in the entire NBA right now is the big and shiny moment. And I know a lot of people have criticized the regular season, even mostly casual fans, but there's been plenty to enjoy in this season. I really think so. Excuse me. So when trying to attract these fans and trying to have the entertainment aspect, I guess the Bucks really wanted the name recognition. Reckon he hasn't added to the team chemistry at all. And I believe I read, the moment Doc came in that locker room, he said, "Man, something that just seems off." And maybe it is. I don't want to put all the blame on him, but this team was expected to make a deep run, and now people wouldn't be surprised if they made it as far as the second round in the conference semis.
Well, they may make it to the Eastern Conference Finals depending on, where they end up seeding. Like if they don't play the Celtics or like a Sixers team or the Pacers, because I think the Pacers can just the way they match up pretty poorly with the Pacers. Assuming they don't hit the Celtics or the Pacers, they can beat pretty much anybody else. I think Giannis himself is just better than anybody
In a
else.
7-game series, you think they could do that as well?
Other than Embiid and the Celtics, yeah, I think they're better than the Knicks. I think it would probably go to 7, and it would be ugly as hell. But I think the Knicks would have actually a pretty good shot against them with OG.
Yeah, and then that's the key, just with OG and the Knicks.
Well, I
then
have more
looking
faith
good
that
is just
OG's coming back than Randall.
Yeah, and Randall himself alluded to still not making it clear whether he's going to take the season-ending surgery or not, or
He
how
said he wants to
far.
play this year. So
Yeah,
I mean, this is what he did last year. He got hurt his ankle, and then he played hurt on it, and then he got the surgery after.
right. And right now at this moment, not having a lot of heat on Randall, and it seems with the rise of Jalen Brunson, he doesn't have as much pressure anymore. And I think it's fair to say it's Jalen's team now. And that might make a big difference. And that's what we always wanted for as long as Julius has been on the Knicks. Understanding he's not a true one, but he could be a great 2 and supporting player in this. And yeah, I think the Knicks will go as far as long as Julius comes back, and we need him to.
Yeah. All right.
And
so who we talk about next?
Oh, just the last thing on the Knicks. What have you thought? How do you think? Excuse me. What do you think about the rise of Jalen Brunson now? Finally makes the All-Star team. He's averaging about 30 points a night. He's getting his assists in. Seems to be a real leader, being embraced by New York. What do you think about this true breakout on a mainstream level for Jalen Brunson and being the point guard the Knicks have always needed?
The kid earned it. He's their best point guard since Jeremy Lin. He's, he worked his ass off, and he's playing like at a really high level. I think he could be the best player on the title team. I don't think so, but I also didn't think he would be this good when they signed him. So, it's possible, but good on him. And the city needed some, because like Randall was a hard guy to root for, because like every other year he was fucking terrible, and RJ Barrett just never had it.
Yeah, and he took it out on the fans as well. And see, now both of them are gone, or RJ's gone with Quick. But yeah, this is just really exciting.
The idea that like Quickly was suddenly gonna like be this huge, terrible loss to them is just kind of goofy. Like I think
I feel better now with Boji and Burks coming back, especially Burks coming back, being that guard off the bench. And again, when you're winning, there's not a lot of issues to come back. Dolan hasn't been criticized as much. Thibs has been having a good year again. There's a lot to look forward to with the Knicks. We just need everybody to come back healthy. Need Hartenstein to come back. I don't know what Mitch is going, but he could be a possibility.
And it's not like you don't have a bunch of assets. Like that's the crazy thing. You got both of those guys for 0 first rounders, which is fucking like not even your own first round. Like the excess ones you had, like 0 first round. How do you like? That's insane.
Well, I guess it's Leon Rose and is being patient and showing that he might be a legitimate GM in this league. And yeah, we'll see how the next 6 weeks go. But if everybody comes back full squad, I really think they can make a deep run.
Yeah, I don't see why not. The question is like, how do you build on it next year? Um,
I really want to see them try to draft a big star instead of finding the big free agent. I think that core is worth looking into now, especially with those assets. But again, if there's somebody who's can't miss or becomes available, especially these next 2 years, gotta hop in that. Um, and just some other teams in the East before we switch to the West. We have how about this? The Magic making a push with Pablo Monchero really becoming holding his own and having that catchy song. The Pacers with Halliburton and Siakam and a core they're growing over there. Um, the Bulls and the Hawks are technically in the play-in, but I don't see them making a push. But regarding any of the other teams in the East that we haven't mentioned, especially with the Heat, Pacers, and Magic holding the 6, 7, and 8 spot, is there anything that these two teams you think they're cooking up something for the future? We saw the Heat as a play-in team make a deep run last year. Do any of these possible play-in teams can have the same fate?
the plan is well, right now, I think the Heat are probably better than they were last year. I think Hawkes is better. I think,
Yeah,
having
he's been awesome to watch.
they'll have a full Tyler Hero, presumably for the entire playoff run. I think Terry Rozier gives them a little more punch. The problem is a lot of the guys occupy the same space and they can't shoot threes. Um, so that is still a problem. I like the Pacers. I think they're an interesting team and they got some young, interesting guys. I still like their first round pick, even though he's not playing a lot. Buddy Hield's finally going to make the playoffs this year.
Mhm.
Oh no, he's not. He's still in Philly. I don't know. I like the Pacers team. Alberton's been really good. The Magic, they're a weird team. I thought they were gonna make a move. Um, I honestly like the trade I really liked for them was Keldon Johnson for uh Markel Fultz and what Wendell Carter because they still have too many guards and they kind of have too many wing guys. And again I don't always trust Jonathan Isaac. I know he's really good, but like he missed a lot of time and he does a lot of like off court stuff that is just kind of like not to say like you can have your faith, but like he wrote more books than he played basketball for like a 3 year span.
I
Um,
didn't know that
and
actually.
like he seems to be a guy who, given a little bit of a push in the wrong way, could find himself saying stuff with the wrong people.
I see.
Especially in like these because he has this like borderline like right wing like online thing. Like I know I think he did an interview with Ben Shapiro and stuff. Like that type of stuff would worry me a little bit. And also his health. Like I don't have any idea how good he is because there's no precedent for well, that's not entirely true. Like he missed 2 years and I'm not entirely I don't even remember what the fuck was wrong with him. Like his I don't know. Paulo's really good. Franz is really good. They're probably one more guy away. I think it's a guard. They need like one. This is really why I thought they should have traded for Dame. I think that would have been like the perfect place for Dame, because they need that one lead guy. Like they could have surrounded him with um, a bunch of wings, big ass wings who could defend, and he would have been perfect. Like he could have done the crunch time for these kids because they're kids, they're NBA kids. Um, but they're a guard away. I don't know where their guard comes from, but it's not on the roster. It's not Cole Anthony. It's not Fultz. But shout out to Jalen Suggs for playing his ass off, understanding like who he is.
Yeah, they really have a great future ahead. And while we now go to the West Coast, let's start off with your Spurs. I understand faces being dead last in the West. It's not fun. However, at least Victor Wembanyama is looking like a Rookie of the Year candidate already.
Oh, hold on. This kid is first off. Let me before I go on to just gush it over Victor. Let's talk about this team. So the problem this team has had is a lot of the guys that were expected to be better have been just awful. Like Zach Collins has been borderline unplayable like all season long. Like he has been terrible. Keldon Johnson has not been good either. Um, so during the start of the season, and they were trying that point Sohan experiment where it was him, Devin, Keldon, Wemby, and Zach. And to be fair, this was an argument I made that you kind of need a bigger guy with Wemby to basically take the pounding so he doesn't have to. And in theory, that worked because you had enough shooting with Wemby and Zach Collins and Devin to open up around like Jeremy Sohan, because kind of the point guard position in itself is a little bit redundant. Like you don't need to have an actual guard. You just need somebody to facilitate like dribble handoffs or swinging it to the wings or whatever your actions are. Like there's a couple guards who you could really do it, but like you don't really need a point guard to do it. So this made sense. Then what happened was Zach couldn't hit a three to save his fucking life. Like for those first couple games in the first quarter, I think Zach and Wemby were 0 for 15 from passes from Jeremy Sohan to start the season. Like they just couldn't hit shit. Zach still can't hit shit. Like he just can't hit anything. So the problem that happened was they were still trying to figure it out. And Wemby was trying to figure it out, and guys were trying to figure things out. And then Devin got hurt for a while. So that helped cascade things. And then they kind of stabilized, like putting Trey Jones there. And I think as the season went on, guys, like Devin's been much better. Jeremy's had some really good moments. And then like there's a lot of guys. Malachi Brennan's been really good. But they have a lot of picks. Like so this is the thing before I get to Wemby. There's a lot of talk that Bill Simmons is pushing a lot of this, and I think he's wrong. Is they need to get him a guard. And maybe they do, but the answers that people have been throwing out have been the wrong answer. Like originally he said, go get Cade. Let's trade 3 first rounders for Cade. And Cade is not worth 3 first rounders. He just isn't. Because on top of not being able to shoot like at all, like he's not a good shooter, you got to pay him next year. Like you have to, like, how much is Cade Cunningham? Is Cade Cunningham worth $50 million a year?
Well, they're getting with the way these NBA salaries
right.
it's
but
up
now
for
you
everybody.
have to deal with that cap. They basically have a hard cap, so you can't be doing that type of shit. Or they said we'll trade for DeJounte. It's like, why? Part of the problem is you need a guard who can shoot. Like Trey's not a great shooter. DeJounte's not a great shooter either. And then they said, oh, get Trey Young. And the argument is, how many first rounders are you going to have to pay for Trey Young? And how much does Trey Young make your team? They've been literally 500 over the last 1,500 games. They're 750 and 750.
I saw that stat. That's hilarious. That's as mid as it gets.
Yeah. Like it makes more sense. They're going to have potentially 2 picks. So they're going to have their pick and they're going to have the Raptors pick this year if it falls outside of the top 6. They're going to have Atlanta's pick next year. They're going to have a pick swap the year after, and then they're going to have Atlanta's pick there. So those are 3 really premium picks. And then I think they have another really high draft pick potential. I think they have a Chicago pick that could probably turn over. They have a Charlotte pick that's basically worthless that they should look to trade. But I think it makes more sense to build through this draft because this team is still kind of young. You don't really know what you have. And also, you didn't know what you had with Wemby this year anyway. Now we can talk about it. He may be the best defensive player of all time.
The best defensive player of all time.
He's going to be well, not yet.
I appreciate your confidence. Explain why.
So he's going to lead the entire. He's going to have the most 5x5 games in NBA history. He almost has 2 already. He missed it by an assist. He is going to be he's at his worst right now. Like barring injury, he will only be better than this. He's basically averaging 3.5 blocks a game. He's playing 30 minutes a game. Like he's not even playing that much for the statistical production he's doing. He's still not a great shooter. He still doesn't have a go-to. He's still not great. His handle isn't that tight, and he's still kind of spindly. Like he's just going to get better. Like his defense is unbelievable. He's probably going to have the next quadruple double. It's just him. Like he's probably going to have more than one. He's probably going to have, like, as soon as he gets into an overtime game without a minutes limit, he's going for 50. He's just like unbelievable. He's faster than people think. His defense, like just his rating, when he's on the floor, they're like an average defense, and when he's off the floor, they're the worst defensive team in NBA history. Uh, he's unbelievably good. Like it is, and he's only like he's a better passer than people give him credit to. He the when he went for the triple double against the against Detroit, the first one, he almost had a 5-by-5 game that game too. I think he missed it by like 2 assists or something. Like he's just his ability to just impact the game in so many fast. Like we don't like this was a good year to figure out what to do. Like what is he capable of? Would it be nice if the team was better? Absolutely. Would it be nice if there was a Cooper Flag or another Wemby at the end of this tunnel to pair him with? Yeah, it would. I still think if they get the first pick, I think pairing him with Alex Sarr would be just devastating for teams defensively because Alex Sarr looks like he's going to be a fantastic defender. But holy shit, is he better than like they're all fucked. The league is fucked. Like he did a step back between the legs 3 over Kyle Anderson today. Like he's 7'5". You can't do anything about it. Like once he figures out how to shoot, like he's not a great shooter. And like once he gets, at some point he's going to get a Dirk fadeaway. He just is, and that's going to be the most unstoppable move of all time. At some point he's going to have a go-to move.
Do you think he needs to gain weight, or do you think he's fine the way he is, mobility-wise?
I don't know how big he is currently. He probably could put on a little bit more muscle. He does. He still looks very thin. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't need to be Giannis, and he certainly is never going to be Zion's weight. But like, he probably could be, bigger, just at least for protection. I don't know how much. And I'm sure they'll as they figure it out, like
209 pounds, but still,
yeah, because you don't want to take away his, because he's incredibly coordinated and he has a good spatial awareness. So you don't want to take away that stuff by making him too chunky. Like that's what happened to Timmy at one point. He got too big and he couldn't move and he had to lose a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm. But you feel really good about this, and you just need to build a team around him, and you expect
and don't rush it.
This is a dynasty leader, and you think Pop is the one to still stay and be the one to lead 2 different generations of Spurs championships. You think in the next 5 years, do you think the Spurs can win a title again?
I don't think he's going to be there. He's going to be like almost 90. I think he's either like mid 80s or almost 80s. Like Pop is old. Like okay. I didn't
he's 75 years old right now. He just turned 75 this January.
Okay. I didn't expect him to be here this long. I thought a couple years ago when his wife died, he was going to retire. I think certainly once they drafted Wemby, he was like, yeah, I'm going to fuck around for a little bit. I think he wins one more. I think first off, Wembanyama has a chance to be the youngest MVP ever. He just turned 20, so he has to win an MVP in the next 3 seasons.
Yeah.
To be the youngest. I think that Pop wins one more and then he retires. I think that within the next, they're going to win a title within probably the next 4 years.
All right. I respect and I like the confidence in there. So talk about the team who is the reigning champion in the Denver Nuggets, currently the 3 seed right now. You said it on this podcast during the season preview that you expect a repeat. You still feel confident about that?
Yes. They're better than everybody else. Like part of the reason and I think they're going to get a bump from this. This is going to be kind of like the TV spike thing. I don't think Jamal Murray is going to qualify for one of the All-NBA teams. I don't know if he's played enough games because I know he got hurt for a while. And if that happens, because he's not an all-star, I think there's certain pay walls that he can't hit because of that, which would give them more financial flexibility in the future. Like I'm sure they'll be like, look, we'll give you whatever your max is because he's unbelievable when it matters. But I don't know. I don't really see they're fine. They're letting the kids play a little bit. Jokic basically it's just like fucking with teams. I don't know. They match up really well against everybody except Minnesota. just because of how fucking big Minnesota is. But in crunch time, you trust Denver a lot more. So I think they're fine. I don't think they really care. I don't think they're scared of anybody.
And speaking of the two teams in front of the Nuggets at this moment, just by a game and a half, they're both have the exact same record. But the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder are both the 1 and 2 seeds respectfully. We have OKC, this team of up-and-comers, this team that has insane chemistry amongst them, and a team built from the ground up. You got to be impressed with what this Oklahoma City GM has done. And sure, there was a lot of years of straight pain and agony, and it's only resulted in picking the right people to create a core right now with, your Chets out there and your Giddies and all that. And then we have Minnesota, rise of Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, and what they're cooking up. Two interesting teams, but you still think the Nuggets can overthrow both of them. But you mentioned how Minnesota has the best chance to actually compete with them.
So there's two things with this. One, this is like Minnesota has to win a title within the next 2 years. They're not like they're surprised to be this good, but they're not a sustainably good team. Like they're capped out. And they don't have picks. Like they have no way to bring in fresh talent without shipping out Naz Reid or shipping out Karl-Anthony Towns. Like they have to rely on internals or like end of the bench guys to really, or Jaden McDaniels becoming a better player. Like Anthony Edwards is like unbelievably good. And he's going to stay that way for a long time. So like they have that, but like this is a team that's kind of capped out, like at how much better they can get. The Thunder, on the other hand, just have all the cap. Like the thing is, when you build the team and you like concentrate all this assets, you want a guy like Shea who could be the best player on the title team. Yeah. And then you want to build it. Like they have their three guys. They got Shea, they got J-Dub, and they got Chet. And those are going to be their guys. Like they're going to max them forever. They're probably going to trade Josh Giddey at some point. I don't know where to who. But they have so many picks now, it doesn't matter. Like they could go get whatever they wanted, and I don't know if or when they will. But I think it was smart. I think trading for Lauri Markkanen would have been a good idea just to get another young guy who could potentially be there for a while. Although I think his deal is up soon, so maybe not the best idea. But like having some of these like more distressed assets to have, but like they can go get anybody in the league if somebody comes. Like if Giannis becomes available, here's 10 first rounders for Giannis. Like they have the assets to go get anybody they want. But they should really just fuck with it. I think really they should have traded for Andre Drummond. I think that would have been a good idea, just because they're small. Like they just like they're big up front, like with their like big guards. But their forwards and their centers are small. Like they're all like 6'8", other than Chet. Like they don't have any size, and that's especially like dealing with somebody like Jokic. You don't have this, and this is also the Clippers' issue. They don't have enough size to handle some of these teams. Minnesota is huge. Like Minnesota is a team that matches up really well with the top 4 teams because they're so big, and Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels are phenomenal defenders that they have the ability to basically one-on-one guys and let their guys paint. Like Oklahoma City, like Shea's a phenomenal defender and Chet's a really good defender, but they're not like a big team in that way. Like they would have been, like if you put this team in the league like 10-ish years ago, or like right as in the Warrior heyday with the small ball stuff, they would have been a perfect small ball team. But now the league is kind of trending a little bit bigger. They might have a little bit of an issue.
Very exciting stuff there. And talk about some other contenders in the West right now. We have the Clippers in the 4th seed, Suns in the 5th seed, Pelicans, Kings, and Mavs all following amongst each other, all just a game apart from each other as well. Out of those 4 teams, before we look at who's in the play-in right now, do you think any of them can branch off and compete with the other top 3? Or is it just, lame ducks right there, and they'll eventually get out.
The problem is you have to weigh for the Clippers. You have to weigh how good is Kawhi going to be versus how bad is Harden going to be. Like, because he's going to be bad. Like, this isn't. We have over a decade of evidence that Harden is bad in the playoffs. Like, he just is. So he's going to be bad. Paul George may be bad. Like, if they're not healthy, like, yeah, Kawhi's been healthy at this point, but Kawhi was healthy last year, kind of. Like, if either Paul George or Kawhi had been healthy, they would have been in Phoenix last year. And for Phoenix, like, they also can't guard anybody. I think Durant's definitely kind of slowed down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The Bradley Beal trade was a mistake.
Yeah, right.
Like,
big three, my
it
ass.
just wasn't. Although, to be fair, they got out of Ayton's contract, and he's been an absolute disaster. He's been fucking awful this year.
Yeah, about in Portland.
Mm-hmm. So, just Nurkic is not like either healthy or good enough to be a starting center for a team that wins a title. But like, I don't know, they could get hot. I mean, the only team that took 2 games off of Denver was them, and that's because Devin Booker forgot how to miss for 2 straight games. So like their offense, when it's hitting is good, but they're another team that I don't know where the hell they get better. As for like Dallas seems like they could be a sneaky team. Because Luka's fucking amazing. And then
it seems Kyrie's been playing more, has been taking his game like a more
balanced roster. Like Daniel Gafford's fine. PJ Washington may be good. Now that he's all away from the Hornets. Speaking of which, it is an absolute travesty that fucking Miles Bridges is playing basketball in the NBA. Like, straight up, he should not be in the league. Like, if you're throwing Kevin Porter out of the league, Miles Bridges should not be in the league.
Yeah.
Just straight up. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Dallas could be good. I mean, Kyrie, this is the first time in like a decade Kyrie's been normal.
Yeah, right. That's what I've been trying to. I've noticed too. It's hilarious.
And I don't know. Maybe there's no reason that they can't get hot. Like Luka's good enough to carry a team through a couple runs. If they play the Suns, they're going to advance. Because I don't know if it's a psychological thing for him or it's a psychological thing, but he's got the Suns number, and he doesn't give a fuck, and he's going to just destroy them. The Kings, I'm kind of surprised they didn't make more of a move. Like they should have gone after OG. But I don't know. They're fine. This may just be like an iteration of this may be a team that never gets over the hump, but what it does is it makes the Kings a respectable organization again. Like this is not the Kings, like the who the fuck was there? David Kahn. This is not the David Kahn Kings. No, that was the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is not like the previous versions of the Kings, where it's like 16 years without a playoff win.
Yeah,
like this is like a respectable organization that people.
Yeah,
can
Mike
like,
Brown's
hey,
done great over there.
Huh?
Mike Brown's done a great job changing that franchise around.
I don't know how much better this team can be though. Like they definitely need another wing.
The only thing, as you know, just letting go of Halliburton.
Sometimes this is what Atlanta's going through. They have 2 guards, and maybe the guy who you think is going to be better, or you think is better, like he's going to be the one that gets you the more assets, so that makes more sense to move. But you can't say they lost that trade. I mean, the big mistake was drafting Davion Mitchell the year after. Like that was the mistake.
It happened,
but yeah,
man.
It's an interesting team.
And just quickly on the Clippers, did you happen to see the new logo getting released? And it seems like they're really rebranding. That it was released.
I didn't look at it. I don't care.
So I was just wondering with their rebrand going into a new arena, having their own next year. I was just curious. Can the Clippers finally break off and be their own entity instead of just being the younger brothers of the Lakers with this, especially getting their own arena and everything?
Well, yeah, they're going to keep most of their team together. I think they're all extended into next year, except for Harden. Yeah, I guess in theory, like they could be exciting. The problem is for the past 15 years, their best players have been a guy whose legs are made out of paper mache, or somebody else gets hurt. Like they're just cursed.
They're just cursed. You know,
like
I mean, I don't think you're wrong, especially in sports. And the one thing I'm curious about, especially with their billion-dollar owner, that finally we're going to take this chance to finally branch off and be our own. And they're clearly doing much better than the other team in Los Angeles now. I just thought it was the good move to release this new rebranding they're trying to do. And I guess more of those questions will get answered, seeing how far they make it in the playoffs and what they do next year. If they make any moves this summer. But it seems like they're finally going to give a damn to
And a lot of
actually
this will change,
establish.
once the stadium's fully built and stuff. Like hopefully, Ballmer actually paid for it and it wasn't like a taxpayer thing.
Oh yeah, I did the research today on it. It's all him.
Good.
All him.
That's how it should be. That should every team stadium, your fucking owner should be paid for it. It should not come from the taxpayers.
I agree with
You're
you
a
on that.
billionaire, you should pay for your own fucking stadium.
And they're taking they put it in Inglewood next to the old
Because the
Forum.
Spurs are looking to move stadiums as well.
Really, it's staying San Antonio, I would assume, right?
No, it's going to be in San Antonio. They're just, I think, going up I-95.
Okay, great stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, look, this Clippers team we'll see in the next 2 years or so. Like, there's no guarantee that like this team doesn't flame out and Harden gets upset and wants to leave. Where he goes, God fucking knows. Like,
I think he's
I
used
think
all
he
his
may have a.
lifelines.
I think after this season, depending on how bad his playoff performance is, he may have a little bit more suitors. But I don't really know who's like, you know what? Let's bring in James Harden.
Oh, and that'll be the day. And with the other two teams in the bubble and two teams that are just so old at this point, but they are staying afloat, where we have the Lakers and Warriors, Warriors in the 10th seed, Lakers in the 9, Lakers who won the in-season tournament too. Imagine if they pulled off that trade that allegedly happened. It just seems that the deal that apparently the Warriors were trying to bring in LeBron at the deadline, that didn't go through. I'm pretty sure they leaked it after it didn't happen, but it doesn't seem like anybody cares. But the Lakers have some shot, only 3 games over 500. And then Warriors just 2 games over 500 there. Are we seeing maybe it's finally Rec and Steve Kerr just got a contract extension? Maybe they're transitioning to a new era. I know Clay isn't the same player at all. Steph's still keeping him afloat. Draymond's on his way out, I feel, after this
Well,
contract.
Draymond came back and they kind of stabilized. Odds has been good. Kuminga's been very good this year. Wiggins is showing life. They're coming into their own again. The Lakers, I don't even understand why they're bad. Like, they're the same team basically they were last year. They like the guys that they brought in haven't been like Taurean Prince sucks. Which fucking Heat guy did they get? They didn't get Max Strus. They got the other. Gabe Vincent, I don't think has played like at all this year. D'Lo's been pretty good. Jackson Hayes is like nothing. Christian Wood has basically done nothing. Like, they should be better. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this team.
And like I said, they won the in-season tournament. So what is it, an effort thing?
I just think they're just and like with the LeBron stuff, like he's not like, this is the year that it's like very clear that LeBron cannot just paper over everything and just like carry a team. Like, he needs help.
Very much so.
I think they did the right thing not trading away their future for, I don't know, anything. I mean, they'll probably try to bring in Trae Young next year, and I hope they do. I hope they trade like a bunch of first and like garbage so that the Hawks tear it down. But like, I don't know. I don't know how much better is Trae Young than D'Angelo Russell, and how much will he solve your problems with the fact that like you can't really guard anybody. Like, yeah, I don't know. This Lakers team's weird. I think LeBron switches teams one more time.
Really? And which team would be? Which team? The one that Bronny James goes to? But it looks like he's going to stay back.
He said he didn't want a farewell tour. He's going to get a farewell tour.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about that 50-50 on that. Like, come on, LeBron.
No, LeBron's farewell tour is going to be him and both of his fucking kids on the same team. Like
Okay.
that's going to be his farewell tour.
So we got that would mean like a solid, what, 5, 6 years left, you think?
No, I think it's only 3. I think Bryce is a junior. I think
Yeah, and
he's
I
2
know
years
Bronny
younger.
James is definitely coming back to college next year,
Well,
USC.
look, to be fair to Bronny, the kid missed the season with an ACL tear, and then he almost fucking died. Like,
Yeah, he has a similar DeMar Hamlin heart condition incident.
so like the fact that he's playing at this level, period, is just impressive itself. So give him another year, and he's in a weird spot too with the other guards who are ahead of him. Um, give him another year. It doesn't mean he's not an NBA player. It's just this is not a good spot for him. That he doesn't need to come out this year. Let him come back next year. But I think that Bryce is better. He's just bigger, and I think that's kind of what scouts have kind of put. And I think that draft is going to be a legacy draft anyway, because I think it's also going to have the Boozer kids and Carmelo and Gilbert Arenas' kid.
Yeah. I saw that clip on Twitter with everybody making you feel old. Hey, I know this was last week. I meant to ask this, so we had to push this a week because I got hurt, but the All-Star game. I know, again, reckon it's old news. A lot of people were critical of it. Seems like the players weren't really trying that much. No defense whatsoever. Scored over 350 points together. I'm just curious your opinion because I value your opinion on the NBA. What did you think of the All-Star game? And you go from there, and we'll branch from that.
I want to very briefly before we talk about the game, I want to talk about the rookie challenge where they had they
Yeah.
drafted the team to play to 40. That was excellent. Fantastic idea. You can't have the G League guys there. And let me explain why.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because they're worse. It's because they tried too hard. Like you could see it when Victor was playing. He was like fucking around. Like you need 1 or 2 guys who's going to care, like a Benedict Mathurin cared, but you need just rookies. You can't bring a G League team in because all of them are thinking, this is my moment to show all the NBA guys that I could belong on a team. And they're going to play their asses
Yeah.
off. And it's a higher chance that somebody's going to get hurt. It's an exhibition game. Like, I like the format. I don't think having the final game 25, I think that's kind of a little, I think maybe kick that one up again. I think 40 for all of them. But like that was exciting. Like that was a fun, exciting thing. I think having the G League team there is a mistake. There's 2 ways to fix the All-Star game. Emblem ending, where you have like a set target score at the end, and it matters. And you have to put some type of way to matter, whether it's like first you get home court advantage, you get like a pick or something, or money. Like that's how you make them matters. You either give them an end target where they have to like play for a game where it matters,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to put some like they put 5 remember when we were talking about the in-season tournament game and we were all like, I know I've said this. Oh, it's $500,000. They motherfuckers, they make $15 million. They don't care.
Right.
They don't.
Yeah. It's for
And
the
then they
bench
did.
players really wanting to. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're gonna have to make it more than that because
Mm-hmm.
who's making the least amount of money, whichever random ass rookie is at the end of their deal, and he's probably making what $4 million. Like they'll care. But Jaylen Brown's making like $70 million. Fucking LeBron is made like 100, like 300 billion, like a billionaire. Like I don't know how if money is as much as an incentive, some type of like home court advantage or
Yeah,
some
like
like
the
pick
home
or
court
something.
advantage for the NBA Finals. If we
Yeah,
make
like
a difference,
something
like
like that. You need to give them. You can't just let them because. And also the other thing to it is like it's an exhibition game. This is the best sport to have. Like them in hockey are like the best sports where you could have like an exhibition game because like football had to switch to flag football because guys were gonna get hurt otherwise. Like
yeah,
it's the perfect like this is the type of thing. Like you got guys chucking it from half court, they're throwing alley oops from like 45 feet away. They're just doing windmill dunks and shit. Like that's kind of the point. These are the best players, that you can build this roster with based on fan votes and who gets hurt and shit. But like you got to make it. You have to add some incentive for them. But I mean, even like I just don't care about All Star Weekend anymore. Like I haven't like the dunk contest is dead, and I don't give a shit anymore. I think the NBA the Sabrina versus Steph thing was interesting. If they should bring
it was
back
close.
the the half court challenge where they had the whichever the host city was, they would have like 3 teams, and it was like a current NBA player, a former NBA player, then a WNBA player, and they would do the free throw, the 3-pointer at like the half court. Do you remember
Yeah,
that when they used to do that?
I do.
Um,
Yeah,
like
going through
those
the
that was
shots,
fun,
like you said, free throw to 3 to half court.
right? Like that would be better than the skills challenge because skills challenge changes every year and nobody cares. Like the only highlight from it this year was Scotty dribbled off his foot. Oh,
And
and then
how
Anthony
about
Edwards shot
him
shot
doing
with
the
the wrong
lefty?
hand.
People
Like
criticized him. He said he like really showed how much he didn't care for being there. I think even
yeah,
Draymond mentioned he didn't appreciate his approach.
yeah, it's you gotta put some incentive to it. The incentive is not just enough because like and holy, I think the best idea I saw for the dunk contest is don't announce who's in it. Is just like have Woj do like kind of like when he's doing draft picks is like, oh, Jaylen Brown is hinting at doing the All-Star game or doing the dunk contest. Ja is hinting at doing it, something like that. But again, you can't have G League guys in it. Like nobody gives a
Like
fuck.
Jacob Thompson.
Or if you're going to bring a guy who's not an NBA player, bring in one of those like professional dunkers.
Yeah, and you can't come up with a very cool dunk. Like one of the things, it just seems so repetitive. We've seen these dunks before, but
Yeah, I mean they're all jumping over each other at this point.
did you happen to see if I was just scrolling quickly through Twitter. I forgot to screenshot it, but I guess Vince Carter talked about how there was
That they were,
that they were
yeah, they
very
were doing a
close for
million.
doing a 4-person dunk contest for $1 million. It was like Kobe, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, and I can't remember the other one. That would have been cool, and for some reason, I don't know, it just ended. But
Yeah, it's the guys just don't care. Like it would be cool if we got some like better guys like a Ja or an Ant or like
mhm.
Zion's never gonna do it. Um, he probably should, but I think he's too fat. Um, like they just it's just not like dunking is not the same anymore. Like
Yeah,
it has it's not like it's cool when guys get posterized, but it's not the game has evolved. Like there used to be guys who were just good at basketball, who were bad at basketball but could dunk real good. Like
right.
James White. James White was not good at basketball, but he could dunk real good. So teams would have guys like that on their roster to like dunk on people. And now they don't. That archetype doesn't exist anymore.
True. But hey, we'll see if they ever figure it out. Now, before we wrap up, is there any team or has there been any player that has really impressed you so far or someone to look out for? Now that our coverage becomes a little more consistent at this point of the year, is there anything we should really pay attention to as we get into the final 25 games of the regular season?
I mean, Kobe White becoming like a really good player is good because I always
Oh
thought
yeah,
he was the
for the
choice.
Bulls, yeah, he's a lot of fun to watch.
I mean that's just a terrible run franchise at this point. But like good on Kobe White, for stepping up. Keontae George is fun. It's it's good that a guy who was supposedly dead is now playing in the NBA.
Mhm.
Um, for those of you who don't know, the anti-vax uh, people made a movie called Died Suddenly, and one of the people shown in that was a basketball player who collapsed. It was Keontae George. Keontae George did not collapse because of the vaccine. He had some type of heart issue or something.
Mhm.
Uh, but he's really good. Um, I don't really know. The, like most of the young guys who are like fun watching are are good. Like we know who they are. Like you're gonna try to watch Wemby whenever you can. Um, and then there's most of the other teams. Like everybody has something pretty much to watch, except I would say basically except for Washington. But like you don't watch Washington for the basketball, you watch it for like the comedy of whatever kind of dumb shit Jordan Poole is unbelievable. Um, but no, I actually let me rephrase that. I think Detroit is the only team that has no reason to watch it. Like it's just a disaster it just is. Like it's just a bad team. And I don't know how it gets better because there's not a guy in this draft who's gonna make it better.
They used
Um
to be such a great franchise, faces, so established, winning titles, well respected, feared in the East.
they
What
made
a
the Eastern
difference
Conference
a
Finals
decade.
6 times in a row in the finals.
Yeah.
They were,
What
you know,
what a difference
they got to get rid of
15
Monty.
years makes.
Like, it's just,
Man, but
he's the worst.
that's steep contract though. They'd owe him a lot of
That's
money
the
if they
only reason
fired
he's
him.
still there. It's because they paid him. Like, if they were paying him $3 million a year, he would have been gone.
What is it, about $70 million the entire contract? I think
Something insane like
over
that.
5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, NBA. But this was great. Thank you, Faces. We'll be seeing you more often, and we're looking forward to it. And one great thing you mentioned, that this league is wide open. So let's see how everything unfolds. We'll see you very soon. Thank you, Faces.
Have a good one.